well, I'm going to get started just in time. Brody, my man.
Bad timing, that's on me.
Don't worry about it. Oh, my name is Scott Shields. I work for Residential Life here at the university, and this is, I guess, a bit of a hobby for me, but it's one that I actually believe in, and at the end of the night, we'll see where you guys land, but bottom line is, I think you'll find tonight really interesting. 2023 was the year that UFOs emerged from the realm of mockery and stepped into more mainstream consciousness, and so if you're into this topic, buckle up, because if you accept the things that you learned tonight and decide to come over the next 2 nights where I'm doing different films, and the stuff that I'll be presenting, I believe the truth is actually stranger than anything that you've seen in science fiction. So you're probably here for either one of two reasons, and that is because you are either curious about UFOs and wondering if we're living alone in the universe, or you know me personally, think I've finally gone off the deep end and you're just here for the circus. Either way, I think you'll find tonight's presentation fascinating. I can assure you this will not be a boatload of tales about little green men and abductions and all those sorts of things that you see in the tabloids. So. But regardless of whether reports of UFOs and ETs turn out to be real, something man-made, or something more mundane, there is one thing that I absolutely do believe, and that is that something very illegal and very serious is being hidden from the American people. Of this I am very certain. So. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay. So a quick show of hands, how many of you think we're alone in the universe? That's okay. That's okay. How many think there's life on other planets? Okay. How many think they're here on Earth now? We'll do this again at the end of the night, see if it's changed any minds, but so I guess to get into the material, when Americans think about UFOs, many think of one particular event from the 1940s. Anyone? Roswell, you got it. In July of 1947, the Roswell Daily Record reported that the United States Army captured a flying saucer on a ranch in the Roswell region, only to have the Army retract the report the next day, claiming that they had only recovered a crashed weather balloon. There is actually a document on the FBI website you can download for yourself. It's a document that was made available by the Freedom of Information Act and was written by an FBI special agent to then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. It describes not one, but 3 UFO flying saucers and extraterrestrial beings that were recovered from the Roswell incident and the circumstances of how they were brought down. Most of us today don't know that these events happened as part of a wave of UFO hysteria that began shortly after the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of World War II. Now fast forward to July 2023 when the United States Congress held its first open hearings on UFOs in decades. There are some takeaways from those hearings. David Grush, a former U.S. intelligence official, told the panel that he is absolutely certain that the federal government is in possession of UAPs. That's the new phrase for UFOs. Citing interviews that he has conducted with over 40 witnesses. Grush, who underscored that he has not personally spotted a UAP, told the panel that he knows of multiple colleagues who were injured by UAPs. He also said he has interviewed individuals who have recovered non-human biologics from crashed UAPs. Some lawmakers and witnesses pushed the federal government to establish clear channels to communicate UAP information and, Some lawmakers and witnesses pushed the federal government to establish clear channels to communicate UAP information with both the public and the military, and said the military should establish a comprehensive report process for unidentified object sightings. Some witnesses and lawmakers at the hearing argued that the stigma associated with reporting UFO sightings, as well as the alleged harassment that goes along with this, is hindering those efforts. David Fravor, a former Navy pilot who shared his encounters with UFO craft that showed no visible signs of propulsion capable of instant acceleration. Here 1 second, gone the next, 60 miles away. When Congressman Tim Burchett asked former intelligence official David Grush if he had personal knowledge of people who were harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal extraterrestrial technology, Grush replied yes. I don't know if you caught it in the news, but there was another round of congressional hearings that happened this morning. They lasted for about 2 hours. I did watch those, and we'll offer just a few tidbits from that as well. today's hearing was a mix of what I believe to be solid information and some bad intentions. Some of the, I don't know, some of the juicy details, if you want to call it that. There's a story of an F-22 Raptor that got boxed in by 3 UAPs and had to leave its patrol zone. They're craft that are operating underwater in order of magnitude faster than the craft we have. And then there's also a new Pentagon program that has been running secretly called Immaculate Constellation, that's a weird one, that collects it and quarantines information on UAP sightings and encounters. Now, all 4 of the witnesses who testified today spoke out against the secrecy surrounding the UAP issue. Among those witnesses was Lou Elizondo. He's probably the most famous UAP person that's in the news right now. He said what I believe to be a lot of accurate stuff. There is a mix of man-made and ET UAPs. To be clear, he did state that there is non-human origin craft that are visiting Earth. Elizondo, like I said, he's the best known operative today, but the problem is that he's also a former counterintelligence official and he's straight out of the Pentagon, so it does give me cause to doubt the things that he brings up, or at least doubt his motives. Former NASA, there was also another official there, retired Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet. He shared a first-hand experience of when aircraft from the carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt was being disrupted by UAPs. He said that UAPs are threatening our aircraft and even split up a formation of military aircraft because they got too close. He says that we need to bolster our air defense capabilities. While I do believe the story, I don't necessarily believe the origin. I've got questions that this may be another government ploy for getting more money for weapons programs that we don't need. Now, on the 2023 hearings, I mentioned that David Grush was their star witness and shared a lot of information. The thing that's concerning about him is that everything he reported was secondhand information. I'm thrilled he testified, but his information wasn't firsthand. So now the reason I'm bringing this part of it up is that I don't dive in blindly. I critique the stuff that I see, and I actually encourage you to do the same. I'm going to give you access to all the materials to do that here in a little bit. So, for those who follow this, though, none of this was new of anything that was shared. The real progress, I think, from the hearings was that the topic was being discussed in public without the stigma that goes along with it. So, speaking of stigma, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I believe we did land on the moon, the Earth, not so flat. To me, UFOs were entertainment. And so you can imagine that something really had to capture my attention to persuade me to do this presentation tonight. And that something was the documentary we're going to be watching tonight called Unacknowledged. Unacknowledged has been seen by over 800 million people and introduces us to Dr. Stephen Greer. In the early 1990s, responding to his own experiences and information coming from highly placed sources in the government, aerospace industry, military, and frankly, illegal secret black budget special access programs, Dr. Greer founded the Disclosure Project with the goal of exposing the government's knowledge of UFOs, extraterrestrial intelligence, and advanced energy and propulsion systems. He has provided briefings for every president since Bill Clinton, CIA directors, senior Pentagon officials, and members of Congress, and has learned that all of them are being lied to. He describes his Disclosure Project as an effort to grant amnesty to government whistleblowers willing to violate security oaths by sharing classified information about UFOs. Dr. Greer has earned the trust of over 1,000 whistleblowers who have come forward to tell their story, over several hundred of them which are new since the July hearings of last year. Now, I'm not talking about John Doe seeing lights in the sky. I'm talking about high-ranking officials. Sorry, I've been skipping slides. I'm talking about high-ranking officials from the United States military, NASA, the FAA, DARPA, Boeing Phantom Works, Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and more. I was fortunate enough to meet Dr. Greer this summer and spend a few days with his team, and I came away with the inescapable conclusion that he is for real and is absolutely worth the amount of trust that witnesses have placed in him. I'm happy to tell you more about that after the movie for those of you who stick around. So let's stop for a second. E.T., here on Earth, now, it's a lot to accept without proof. And so, well, to quote astronomer Carl Sagan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I'm prepared to do that. After tonight's movie, I will show you where and how to access the Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive website. This database cost over $500,000 to develop and is a complete database covering everything the Disclosure Project has learned in the last 3 decades. It's got a map of 145 top secret facilities and bases, 755 witnesses from military, corporate, and government sources, hundreds of thousands of pages of government documents, transcripts and testimony, tech knowledge, and proof of black budget. 122 crash retrievals. Pretty much every document that you're going to be seeing in tonight's film is going to be in that archive for you to look up for yourself. Presently, the archive is mostly a raw dump of materials. Over time, executive summaries are being added, 4 of which are already done, and I actually have them printed out over here. But they'll be available to you online as well. So stick around afterwards, and I'll be happy to show you the archive. Dr. Greer provided all the materials that are in the archive to Congress early in 2024. Shortly after receiving this intelligence, the Senate Intelligence Committee, with bipartisan approval, they approved an amnesty period giving contractors and individuals in the U.S. government and corporations 6 months to come forward with exotic or extraterrestrial material, bodies, or information and disclose it to the legitimate U.S. government. At the end of 6 months, if they have not complied, they would be criminally prosecuted and have their assets seized. Dr. Greer has been pressing for this for 30 years. More whistleblowers want to come forward, but fear losing their pensions and their careers or being processed, and we hadn't. It was attached to the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act that was passed last December until it was stripped at the last minute when the House and Senate versions of the bill went to committee for reconciliation. Dr. Greer has since reported, and this is new information since I did this in the spring, that the 2 representatives that torpedoed it, Representative Mike Turner of Ohio, he is chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. His district has Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where a lot of stuff is alleged to be stored, and also Lockheed Martin is a huge donor of his. Representative Mike Rogers of Alabama, also chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, he gets a ton of his funding from the aerospace community as well. So, we're fortunate to have a new round of hearings this month, one of which was this morning. However, both speakers Kevin McCarthy and now Speaker Mike Johnson have blocked Congress from using subpoenas to pull speakers in. And unfortunately, it's only with subpoena power that more high-level insider witnesses will come forward. They want to testify, but need the protection it offers so they can't be fired or lose pensions for violating non-disclosure agreements. There's additional witnesses that want to come forward. There's a former chair of a Fortune 50 company who wants to come forward. He has the schematics of free energy systems and man-made UFOs. For decades, we could have had free energy for the entire Earth. Now that he's pushing 80, he regrets his involvement and wants to come forward. However, he's been threatened that his family will be killed if he speaks out. That's why I'm happy to announce, and this is new information since it is from the spring, is that as of June 20th, 2024, 24-hour protection surveillance for witnesses who want to come forward is in place. Anyone who messes with any of the witnesses in any manner will be immediately arrested. Another witness. I'm doing a good job on slides, am I? We've all seen this. Not a commercial. There's about 30 of these.
No, going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Oh, okay, dude. That's not ominous, though, is it? It's not, dude. I don't know, dude. Well, it's very something. It's a rotate.
Well, according to Dr. Greer, I'll go and throw this one out there, that's not ET, that's something that's been developed by Lockheed Martin. It's man-made. The guy who trained the pilots of these the guy who trained the pilots of these UFOs has actually man-made UFOs, has come forward. He worked at Edwards Air Force Base, and like I said, he trained the pilots of these things. He wants to come forward and testify. He's been read into Area 51 and Nellis, and has testified to the House Oversight Committee. He's willing to share everything because they're legal, and he agrees that he can openly testify. So tonight I want to start you on a journey that frankly is stranger than anything that has come out of science fiction. Tonight's documentary comes in 3 acts. The first act is probably what many of you thought you would see tonight as witnesses share some of their stories. The second act, we go down the rabbit hole, and you're going to learn why this topic has been shrouded in secrecy. It may not be what you expect. A lot of it isn't pretty. In fact, although they don't say it tonight, 3 of the people in this video have actually been assassinated. The third act is for the environmentalists in the room who are only begins to hint at the kind of technologies that are being withheld from us. Now, there's 2 other documentaries from the Disclosure Project. I will show a trailer for one of them after the movie. The first one is The Lost Century, and I'll be showing it at 6 o'clock next Wednesday. This one is, to be frank, this one should Unacknowledged tonight will hopefully capture your attention. The Lost Century, which I'll show next week, frankly should piss you off. And the last movie I'll be showing on Wednesday, December 4th, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I'll show that trailer next week as well. So if tonight captures your interest, I've got a notepad over here. You can give me your name and your email address, and I'll be happy to send reminders about events. Can I keep you up to date? But for those who stick around and want to learn about accessing the archive, I'll give you access to that, show you what's in there and how to go for it. So, but for now, let's watch Acknowledged.